Hey, man. How you doing over there?
Good, and it's a pleasure to having you on this show too. And I have to ask straight off the top, you're looking forward to coming to Australia, man?
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, I've been there a few times with Brutal Truth, but never with nuclear assault, so we're just going to knock that out before we call it a day for the most part. And every time I have been down there, I've always really enjoyed it. So, and it'll be especially cool because it's going to be pretty cold over here when we come down there, so we'll get a little break from the weather, too.
Yeah. Before we get into the tour and whatnot, I want to ask some questions that been buzzing in the music world quite lately in the last couple of weeks due to several leaks being released before an album gets released. I mean, you guys been around since the 1980s, and the times has changed now with the digital world. Do you agree with fans listening before they buy? Say, for instance, a leak being released, whether it's on YouTube or whatever, before the album has officially been released. Do you agree with that? With the way that technology is now, fans can listen before they buy?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's been like that for a while now with either YouTube or torrent sites where people can download stuff. And our hope is that, metal fans who are, dedicated metal fans will, if they go and check it out before, if they check it out without buying it, that hopefully they'll still support the band and say, yeah, this album's cool, man. I'm gonna go spend my money on this. So that's what we really have to hope for in these kind of situations, because obviously some people could just just kind of take it without doing that. So we will hope that people will be supportive in that aspect. If not, then I keep saying that, sorry.
Yeah.
That people will still enjoy it either way. Screw it,
Yeah, I just comment from a different angle. Will that in some way sour the sales of the album, where people have already listened to it, and if they don't like it, they won't buy it? But I look at the flip side of it. When you look at bands like Anthrax or Metallica, fans will buy the album because it's got that band's name on the album cover, no matter how good or bad that album may sound. But on the flip side of that, will it sour the album sales if a leak that the band hasn't released, so say someone has picked up a copy from somewhere and leaked it out to all the audience that listen to it, will it sour the album sales, or does the band doesn't really care sometimes?
Well, I mean, it certainly might have an effect on the album sales, depending on how long it got released, how long it was out there, and how many people knew about it. But you just have to hope that, like I said, that people who are going to be dedicated metal fans are just going to support it and just say, fuck it. I know I already have this record. I didn't have to really buy it, but I'm going to go out and support the band anyway. So it definitely would have an effect, because some people might just go, yeah, screw it, I've already got it. But hopefully some people would, like I said, but it's nothing you can really control. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, with Nuclear Assault, you started off in New York City, and basically New York City is made up with a lot of other bands like Overkill, Nuclear Assault, and a few others, especially the hair metal bands like Kiss and New York Dolls and so forth. But when you look at the ultimate thrash band. I mean, you were a former bassist of Anthrax. You left in 1984. But when you look at it as the standpoint of the big four, where you got Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer, compared to the big four from New York, was there a bit of a competition, like, or take no prisoners, because you're all trying to compete to get to that successful on the top of the charts?
I wouldn't say so. I think there was pretty much just a camaraderie, and see, back then there weren't many bands like that, so we kind of stuck together in a way.
Yeah.
So we just, I didn't feel any kind of competition like that personally.
I think the fans have put that on themselves, basically. No matter what type of genre of metal it is, I think the fans had put in that perspective that there's a big four, and then there's just another part of it, and they put them in their own pigeonhole, their own genre of metal, so to speak. I think the fans are taking upon themselves.
Well, yeah, we don't really worry about that.
Yeah.
A lot of that was like magazines and stuff too. They like to, categorize stuff, and that's what it makes them happy. Fine. I don't really sweat it. Back then when it was like us, Anthrax, I'm talking Nuclear Assault here. Like Carnivore and Whiplash, and then a lot of hardcore bands and stuff. Then we just had a good time because, like I said, it was a little different back then because it was still a lot newer. So I think we all pretty much had a good time.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it was back then. You did it for the love of the music. You didn't get... You weren't making the music to become famous, because basically anyone didn't know what famous was about then. All you wanted to do was to make music. That was your pride and joy. Just go out, record music, and if you make successful, you make success out of it. But when you left Anthrax in 94, did you have that transition period where what you learnt before bringing into Nuclear Assault, how was that transition for you? Was it easy, or was there some roadblocks in front that you had to knock down to succeed?
Well, the truth of it was that I kind of got thrown out of Anthrax because the original singer didn't like me, but then they threw him out 7 months later. So it was kind of the opposite of a roadblock. All of a sudden I had, my plans were very free. So in late January, early February 1984, right around when Fistful of Metal came out, I found myself without a band and said, I'm going to take this and turn it into an opportunity to do what the hell I want. So it was kind of all of a sudden I had no plans. So I called up John Connery and we got a band going.
Are you surprised at all with the legacy of both Nuclear Assault and Anthrax to survive this long? Or did you knew in the back of your mind that we're there for the long haul?
Well, I think it's great that thrash metal in general is still really popular, and I think it's a credit to the genre. As if you would have asked me in 1984 or 1985 if this music would still be popular, I wouldn't have known what the hell to tell you. But the fact that it still is, and that there's bands still kind of carrying that whole thing and doing that, I think is great, and it's inspiring. And I'm pretty psyched with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you would have asked me 30 years ago, I wouldn't have known what the hell to tell you.
Yeah. I look at it as well, because I'm a fan of the metal scene. No matter if it's thrash, grind, or whatever, I'm a fan in general. I don't take anything like I don't put anyone in a basket. I put what I'm trying to say is I don't have any favourites. Basically, you're equal
Right.
for me and whatnot. But when I look at it from the 1980s right till now, the whole part of the 1990s segment, because of the grunge movement, basically killed it for me in a way. Because I didn't listen to a lot of music in the 90s because it destroyed it with the way that, you know, the dance culture came in and all that, and all the boy bands came in and whatnot. And it just spoiled it for me. But then when the early 2000s came, I think a lot of the older bands got a bit of attitude because of what they missed out on in the 90s. Did you see that for yourself? Like, when the 1990s came, a lot of the 80s bands disappeared due to the grunge era, but towards the end of the 1990s, you're starting to see a bit of a shape shift coming into the new millennium. And even till now, you're seeing a lot of the older bands coming out of the woodworks, reforming and whatnot. But did you see it personally yourself?
Well, I think around that time period, around the, coming of the millennium or whatever you want to call it, you started seeing bands like Municipal Waste and Toxic Holocaust coming out, younger people that were totally influenced by bands like Nuclear Assault and DRI or TDH or what have you. But as far as the 90s went, I was busy doing Brutal Truth, so we were still playing extremely radical music, high-speed grindcore. And the 90s was also a good period for death metal and black metal. So despite the grunge and all the Limp Bizkit crap and everything like that, we just ignored that, and we just carried on in our way. And sure, it was embarrassing when you saw somebody in the street and they'd be like, "Oh, you like metal? I like that. You mean like Korn and Limp Bizkit?" And we're like, "No, but forget it." So, yeah, I tended to, and always have tended to ignore whatever the commercial aspects of what people call metal are and just focus on what I'm doing. And it's worked for me so far. I mean, the secret is just not giving a shit and doing what you want.
Yeah. Well, with over a 30-year legacy for nuclear assault, this is the only time Australia and the last time we'll get to see you guys. And you guys won't be coming back. What made the decision that this was it?
Well, it's just when you get to our age in life, people have jobs and families. When we were in our 20s, maybe we were a little more carefree and we'd go out and explore the world for a month or something, but it's just, we're not Metallica, we're not raking in $1 million, and that's not why we do music in the first place, but it just comes to a point where it's just harder to get away that long. So you just have to start backing down. And that's really what it is. Yeah. If we were able to sustain it and be self-sufficient and able to just do this and not have to work, then we'd do it as much as we could. But unfortunately, that's not the reality when you play music you choose to play.
Because
that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, there are some bands out there that's still going on, but I see some bands have gone a bit too far. I mean, I'm a massive Kiss fan, and I think they've gone a little bit too far in their time. I think it's time for them to hang it up. But if they like doing it, I'm not stopping them from doing it. But I think there's a point of time where people need to, especially the fans, take a step back and say, hey, maybe it is time for some of these bands to, hang up the boots with a guitar strap, so to speak. But the flip side of all that is, who will take over the reins? I mean, will we see another massive uprising where when we had the 1980s and all these bands came out of the woodwork due to the new, what we call the MTV type of things, you had a lot of record companies endorsing a lot of bands and putting money into a lot of bands, but nowadays you don't really get to see that. But when you see bands like Metallica, if they hang up in the next 10 years, or Iron Maiden and so forth, Judas Priest, who will take over the reins, you think?
Well, There seems to be plenty of bands that are also doing just like regular metal, younger bands. Like some bands are more into the thrash thing, and some bands are just doing kind of like more straight ahead stuff. I think that all types of metal, the metal I would call good metal, is being, carried on in a cool way, and I think that's a good thing. So, I mean, with thrash, it's a little easier because, it's a little more of a recent thing than regular metal, but I don't know. It's hard to say exactly who would take over the reins, but I think the general spirit of everything, I think people will keep doing it because it's in their heart,
Yeah. I mean, the last 30-odd years have just fly straight past. I mean, I'm 37 going on to 38, and I feel like I'm still 24. I mean, the last 30-odd years just that flies by. I mean, if we have a time machine and go back to the 80s, that's where I want to stay, and I just put the pause button on. I don't want to move. Because I reckon the 1980s were the best time of anyone's life, basically.
Yeah, it was a nice time. It was great for us. We were still feeling around. Well, actually, with nuclear assault, that's the late 80s is when we got everything together, and it was a great time. And, unfortunately, you can't bring it back, but it's, whatchamacallit, it was lots of fun, and it was thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah. Well...
So, dude, I just wanted to tell you, I got about 4 more minutes, and I got another interview.
Yeah, I've got the message. Yeah, I've got the message that you got an appointment. But I've just got a couple of questions, and then I'll wrap it up. You had a bit of a break. The band had a bit of a break for 8 years and that. I understand that, but the question I want to ask, was there any other time that you thought about coming to Australia? Was there any chance of you guys coming to Australia and things didn't fall through for you guys?
Well, there was nothing that was actually arranged. I mean, had the opportunity come up, then we would have been totally down with that, but it didn't work out at the time. I'm just glad that we're going at all.
Yeah.
So, no, it's just, it never came together before this.
Yeah. And also, the last question is, what are the plans for you after the tour, after the last date of Nuclear Assault? What's the plan for you? You're sitting back relaxing, or you've got other projects you're working on?
Well, I'm in a couple of local bands where I live here in Rochester, New York. One is called Nocturnal Hellstorm, that plays black metal. And another one is called Blurring, that plays like really intense grind. So I'm keeping busy, staying underground. And besides that, there's the occasional Venomous concept tour. And besides that, I don't know, just whatever comes up. Sometimes I fill in for Shane Embry when he can't do lock-up shows, and I play bass for that.
Yeah.
And, I'm just keep busy with, like I said, with the local bands. I still love playing music. I just, I'm not going to do it to the point I did it, previously.
Yeah. Well, we can't wait for you guys to come down here next February. We've got 3 dates, one in Melbourne, one in Brisbane, one in Sydney, and I want to thank you for taking your time out. I know you're busy, you've got a couple of appointments to get to, and I'll let you go and do them. But thanks for joining us, Danny, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next year. Right on, man. Well, thanks for the interest, and we'll see you down there in February, dude. No worries, man. You take care. All right, man. Take it easy, man. All right.